What up, y'all? It's Coffee back at it, man. And I did a vid a little bit ago about the Tom Brady roast, man. And I just knew when I saw it going down and was taking in the jokes and just the context of everything, I was like, this is going to be big, man. Like, they really were pressing the line going in. It was different. It was something we hadn't seen in quite some time. It was a bit shocking, honestly. And then just add into the equation that I believe this was the first special that was live streamed like this on Netflix, as Netflix has big plans ahead. But I was really shocked to see what the roast was, and it just didn't, like, they started off going in, getting very offensive and stuff like that, like something we haven't seen in a long time. And they just like kept their put their foot on the gas and didn't let off it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh man, that guy went in and then they eased off. No, it was just 0 to 100 real quick and kept going.
I would imagine that most of you are Netflix subscribers. I would also imagine that a lot of you are super busy and totally were not aware that the Tom Brady roast was going on last night on Netflix. It was live. Kevin Hart hosted it. I'll be honest with you, I missed probably the first 25 or 30 minutes. I mentioned that I liked the Beckham documentary. I was watching the Beckham 4-episode documentary. I was finishing that with my wife. When we finished the 4th episode, we saw that the roast was going on. We flipped over, and it was fantastic. And I honestly can't believe that Tom Brady allowed it to happen. Bill Belichick was there, Julian Edelman, Randy Moss, Rob Gronkowski, even Drew Bledsoe. Lots of interesting jokes were said. Many different comedians out there who did a fantastic job. What I couldn't get over as I watched it was this is a signature statement that the woke culture is dead in sports. I thought it was the biggest takeaway. White guys, black guys, Jewish guys, Asian guys, Hispanic guys, and gals, Kim Kardashian. Everybody was made fun of equally, and it felt like the best days of comedy were returning. Jerry Seinfeld recently came out and said, woke scolds on the left have killed comedy. I've talked about on this show quite a lot. Can you even remember the last great movie comedy that you saw in the theaters? I mean, something that really had you belly laughing. Like, I'm just tossing out a couple of comedies, Superbad, or There's Something About Mary in the 90s, or Ace Ventura, which you could never make today because of the trans jokes that would be included there. Woke culture and being afraid of offending people destroyed comedy when it comes to movies. Stand-up has maintained some of that art form, and I give credit to Dave Chappelle, who just stared down what was considered to be acceptable or not in his Netflix special, and I think a lot of people have followed him. The world of sports hasn't necessarily. Last night was outrageously funny and also outrageously offensive. Many of the jokes that Tom Brady made, offensive. Many of the jokes that Kevin Hart made, offensive. Many of the jokes that Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman and others made were offensive. And my God, that was why so many people loved it. I, again, can't believe Tom Brady did it. He got roasted over the Giselle situation. He seemed to only get upset with Jeffrey Ross once when there was a joke made about Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick ended up doing shots together. Universally, I think everybody thought that the jokes were decent, with the exception of Ben Affleck, who came out and was not very good. And honestly, I didn't think Will Ferrell in the character of Ron Burgundy was very good. And obviously, the standard for athletes, Randy Moss wasn't great, but he's not a stand-up comedian. Gronk kind of got lost. Edelman was probably the best alongside of Drew Bledsoe. Brady was very good. Peyton Manning was pretty solid. He came out at the end. If you didn't watch it, I would encourage you to go watch it. And I think if you're around my age, if you grew up in the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s, you will watch it and you will think to yourself, hallelujah, after a generation in the woke wilderness, it feels like we are starting to win battles to restore sanity. And I'll point out, you notice how almost no athlete has been outspoken yet about the 2024 election? Even in the NBA, there's nobody out there that I'm seeing. Greg Popovich mostly seems shut up. Steve Kerr, LeBron James, Adam Silver, maybe they're all because they're negotiating the NBA rights deal, which I wrote about and I'm kind of fascinated by. There's a long form piece from me up on Outkick if you want to go read that. I do think that there is a recognition that the idea of social justice warriordom and the idea of sports becoming politics by any other name, that it's given up the ghost and sane people are starting to take it back over. And I loved it. Comedy should be, in the words of South Park, which has remained true to this, offensive evenly to everyone. Whether you're gay, whether you're straight, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, we cannot have sacred cows that are not allowed to be joked about. And even Brady made a 9/11 joke. Didn't anticipate it. I thought it was phenomenal. And here's the thing. Any one of those jokes historically would have turned into massive stories. So far as I can tell, everyone seems to have liked it. And the losers on the woke left, all of the school marms in sports media, I haven't even seen anybody utter a negative word about it. Why is that? I think because Outkick is winning. And I also think because all of those woke losers, they recognize that they are now not the majority. With Elon Musk buying Twitter, I think they don't get the pile on that they used to, where they're able to argue, oh my God, somebody made a joke about Tom Brady being gay. This is totally unacceptable. Oh my God, a white guy made a joke about a black person. This is totally unacceptable. I think their world is collapsing. I think we are winning. And I think it ties in with why Trump is rising. And why, as I read this morning, so credit to Tom Brady for fighting that battle and doing what I believe was a really good job of being willing to take a lot of tough punches. I'll be honest with you. There were a lot of jokes where I was like, ooh. And a lot of them were at Brady's expense. Now, Belichick got hit with some. Gronk got hit with a ton. There was certainly shrapnel enough to go around. But Brady did not come off easy here. He did not get off easy. I thought he did a good job at the end, but I would encourage all of you to go watch it. I think it was a signature moment of sports returning to normalcy and of comedy coming back and saying, hey, we're going to win this. And, you know, that's the first time I've seen it in connection with sports.
So how about that take there by Clay Travis, man? He's saying, you know, Jerry Seinfeld said a long time ago that all this woke-ish killed comedy. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff that's been discussed and brought to the forefront about society and the news and stuff like that that needed to be touched on. You know what I'm saying? I'm a type of individual when it comes to anything. I always am talking about moderation or finding somewhere in the middle. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to comedy and jokes and stuff like that, like comedy has always been offensive. You heard him mentioning Dave Chappelle, how Chappelle was almost staring down the barrel of a gun, so to speak, you know, staying true to who he is as a comedian. And how about South Park, who also has stuck, you know, true to what that show is. They've never let any BS affect them if they've remained, on cable TV and all that all these years. And that's a pretty good philosophy. Basically, anybody can get it. You know what I mean? We ain't backing off. Anyone can get a joke. We'll offend anyone. We don't give two fucks. You know, it was pretty wild. And I got to say, definitely it was good for comedy. You see different people reacting to it. And in my original video, I was saying, man, it almost felt like some kind of humiliation ritual. And you see, I'm actually not the only one who said that. I was surprised, like, okay, there's some other cats feeling the same way. I'm not saying that's exactly what it is, but it damn sure felt like it with all these different quote unquote, I'm using air quotes, elite individuals up there going in and the way in which they were. Like a joke I forgot to mention in my first vid was the one about Hernandez. Did y'all hear that one where Edelman was saying, people always ask me, how big is Gronk's pause? I'm not actually going to say it right, pause. But he said, I forget what he said, but he said there was another tight end that we used to have, and he was truly hung, pause, right? But we know the way Hernandez went out. Like, I was like, damn, man, this really truly is some type of comedy we really have been accustomed to not see anymore. And I feel like he definitely was onto something where he was saying, in typical fashion, the way things have become in society, any one of these hard-hitting, offensive jokes would have been like major news, right? But I almost wonder if that was kind of the way they went at it, was like, yo, if we just go top to bottom whole show long with just over offensive, funny comedy, like they can't just snatch up one and make a story out of each one. Like, it'll just overload the media of trying to break this down and be offended at each individual joke. And with that being said, the roast definitely is getting a lot of media coverage and all that. But I don't know. I just kind of thought that it was interesting when he said that, when Clay said each joke would have sparked national outrage. Well, we'll just hit you with a billion of them. Are you going to really sit there and take the time to try to invoke in much we're super offended you can out of each one? Can you possibly do that when they all hit at one time like that? You know what I mean? It's kind of interesting to think of things that way. But as far as him saying, hey, this is something, we haven't seen intertwined with sports in this way, I gotta say, I truly wonder if this would be possible if Brady was still an active NFL player. You know what I mean? He's retired. He's truly done. He's put the game behind him. I can't see, if he was playing, right, like one way or another, I think Goodell would have put the axe to this. We know in these big companies like the NFL, WWE, obviously that's sports entertainment, but, they still are very protective over what anyone who's, flying their banner, so to speak, does, even in their personal life in some ways. Like, I don't know if you saw on some of them WWE shows, like there's been people that got in trouble for getting unapproved tattoos before, where like they'll find a clause in the contract and try to take your ass to court over that ish. You know what I mean? So I truly wonder, and personally, my opinion is like, I think this is, looking at this, like this was intertwined in sports. I mean, yes, you had a lot of NFL athletes up there. Most of them retired, I believe, or were all of them retired. And Tom Brady is obviously known for the NFL and the amazing stuff that he did in that sport and in that league. But he isn't really actively a player anymore, So it's like, yes, that's the comedy, no holding back, fuck all this being offended-ish comedy, mixed with the NFL. But I just got to say, I just don't think it would happen one way or another if he was still in the league. Comment and let me know if you agree with that or not. But I definitely agree that, like, I thought Gronk didn't do so well. Edelman probably did the best out of the athletes, I thought, but I was pointing out in my previous video that obviously these dudes didn't write this ish, I don't think. I'm intrigued to know if maybe any of them had a little bit to do with their jokes or maybe not. Let me know your thoughts about that. But ultimately, how big is this for comedy and for sports? And do you find that to be true, what Clay was saying about how, because listen, I always say this all the time when it comes to political matters and things of that nature. I'm not that dude to get wrapped up in that kind of ish. I hate talking politics. You know what I mean? I try to keep it bar or dinner table rules. Like when you're in the bar, no talking religion, no talking politics. You know what I mean? It's an automatic argument. What do we want to get into a big fight over this ish? You know what I'm saying? And the way that things have went these days, families have fallen apart behind political stuff. You know, I'm not a guy that stands with one side or the other side. I think, you know, I don't identify with parties or viewpoints on things of that nature or anything. I mean, I guess in a sense, based on the beliefs of certain sides or ideologies, some may look at the way I view things and say, well, Coffee, your viewpoint seems to be more along these lines, but I'm not ever like, hey, I'm siding with this side or that side. That's just not how I rock. I feel differently about different things. And I think getting involved in that type of ish is almost like a gang like mentality. You know what I mean? Like, but on a political level, and it really bleeds into society in that way. And it's just division, divides people at the end of the day, divides society. And I don't fuck with it. I don't rock with it at all. But no question, you know, major events and big companies and networks and stuff like that have backed off of a lot of ish because of, you know, cancel culture and people being offended and stuff like this, you know. So it definitely was refreshing to see people say, hey, fuck it all. We're just going to go in on anyone and everyone can and will get it, you know. But is that true, y'all? Like, I mean, he mentioned some really good movies there as well. Something About Mary. What else did he say? Super Bad. Ace Ventura, man, that is a cold classic right there, man. And you know what? Right away, like, Einhorn is Finkel, Finkel is Einhorn, them Trans jokes. You guys see I'm spelling it out rather than saying it. That says it all right there. You know, a lot of these movies probably never would be shot today, but I'm just curious to know if everyone thinks since, you know, the temperature in society changed and all that, has like there not really been any great comedies as of late. I feel like there's been a couple or a few, right? Like I'm not debating the fact at all that this social climate type ish did mess up comedy, but I'm just saying, did it ultimately fluck it up, or we didn't see any good comedic classics over these years, or has there been a couple? Comment and let me know. But I don't know. You know, like I said, when I saw this going on, I was like, yo, this is hitting hard. I was taken aback by this, no question. You know what I mean? And I'm diehard Bills Mafia. You know, so I always got to put it out there that that's the enemies, that's Satan, that's this rings of hell, you know what I mean? But I still give them their props and respect as of what they've done. And I know too, Tom Brady got at Bills Mafia a little something too. I'm gonna cover that in another video. But yeah, the second I seen this, I said, this is serious. This is something right here. You know, this is wild. Even if it is a humiliation ritual, you know, they've really going in and not backing off when it comes to comedy. And it's something else. At times it almost felt like they were going extra hard, you know, like even harder than someone would have went back in that era before social climate changed to which it is in present day. But jump in the comments. That's all I got on this one. Want to hear everyone's thoughts, take, and opinion. As always, that's what it's all about over here. If you're new, this is Coffee. We talk music, news, sports, current events, life, and much more. Lots of NFL content coming on the way. Football season right around the corner. And, you know, we cover other sports as well and all that. So thank y'all for tuning in. Look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments. Go Bills. Fuck the Patriots and the Buccaneers. Josh and my Bills are going to step up and start getting these rings. You know what I'm saying? And catch up to what this Patriots dynasty did and knock Mahomes and them off their pedestal, as, you know, they're almost halfway to matching that dynasty, you know. But let's talk about it all in the comments. Subscribe, hit the like. I'm out of here. Peace.